Hello, everyone, and welcome to Around South Jersey. Today, we're going all the way down to Florida with our guest, Tom Ritter, who has Niche Podcasting. Tom, good to see you.
Hey, Jim. Pleasure to be here. This was a wonderful surprise. Nothing like walking in the door, having spotlights turned on, and a mic thrust in front of you.
Well,
I like your style.
With your business, I feel you're natural to do this, you know.
So let's not offended one bit.
Well, great to have you, man. Let's talk about you growing up. You grew up in Millville, right?
Yes, yeah.
And tell everybody who your dad was and who your mom is.
Ted Ritter and Sheila Ritter, both long time. Well, Ted grew up in Bridgeton, and his name would be familiar for that reason. Sheila still lives in Millville. Ted passed a few years ago.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. We're talking about, do you remember, did Dad ever tell you anything about the Ritter Ketchup Company?
Oh, for Pete's sake. You must be joking. Yeah, 100%. And though Paul III, who you know from the CEO of Cumberland Mutual, is a full-blown South Jersey tomato industry historian. Yeah. So I don't pretend to be the expert there. But, yeah, of course, I heard stories from my father's friends, anybody who sort of grew up in or around the business of tomatoes or ketchup, or was around in Bridgeton for a harvest, and would inevitably end up telling a story about the smell in the air. So that always comes up, and that's not a smell I think I was ever exposed to.
Too young.
Yeah, too young, but everybody of the age goes back to that.
Yeah, I do. I love that smell of the tomato, and they were the trucks sitting in line to go drop off their tomatoes to the Ritter plant down there in Bridgeton, as you talked about. And, we were talking about all of the Ritters. Now, your Uncle Bill Ritter, who was in construction, and he and I were good friends because we managed and coached a Little League team, Christian, his son Christian. Do you ever get in touch with Christian? Do you?
Yeah, a little bit. He's down south and has kids, and is I don't know lately, but always was a good athlete.
Yeah,
you're right about that. Those were what, Ritter construction teams?
Yes.
Yeah, I played for Knowles Pharmacy. So
did you really?
Yeah, I didn't. I was you guys were like the arch nemesis. Actually, my uncle's team was the always tough. Yeah, they had the fastest. But you guys, who was the pitcher?
Well, it was
Tommy Biggs. Do you remember it?
I do. My goodness, he could throw.
Holy cow! He hit me in the elbow. I still can't make a fist. Yeah. That guy was tossing heat in Little League, man. That was rough.
You see, you got to remember, you're much younger than Christian. We had Bill Forrester's son, Matt, who was very fast also. Bill Forrester was a judge, and he was probably the best pitcher to ever pitch at Millville High School. But this is way, way back, so it wouldn't be times that you would have remembered. But anyway, where did you go to high school?
Sacred Heart.
And then when you graduated Sacred Heart, where did you go?
Moravian College in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Okay. So what did you major in? Podcasting?
What did majored in? I mean, realistically, I majored in, experiencing all the things I didn't experience in high school when I was, young and on the leash, at which I probably should have. I was just a wild man in college. I campaigned to all my nieces and nephews. I'm like, listen, there's a shortage of electricians, right? Like, you want a beach house? Like, go to a trade school. Unless you've got a job waiting for you, I can't see racking up six figures in debt. I feel like I was the test case for that, because I look back and I was like, that was time that could have been better spent elsewhere. Beautiful, beautiful little campus, though. Sixth oldest school in the country, but I feel like, it wasn't a marriage made in heaven. It was a great place to visit, but I didn't belong
want to
there.
Stay.
I didn't. I mean, I stayed around long enough to get a diploma, but it was basically in a course of study that I decided was the easiest. No offense to sociology majors out there, but it was just, you could mail it in. You could get B's on sociology finals, and it would just basically required a little bit of logic and being a decent human being at heart, and you could get through sociology. So, yeah, that was my Moravian college experience. Although I did play a little bit of Division III basketball. Terrible.
Now, come on, you got that Ritter height. As soon as Tom walked in, I said, "Man, you got the Ritter height. That's for sure."
It's doesn't mean you can catch. It's so much harder to make a shot when you didn't catch the ball to begin with. It was a disaster until about 26, and by then college was over. So,
well, Christian did really well.
Chris was a great basketball player. Gretchen was a great basketball player.
Yes, that's right, she was. Yeah,
I want to say both of those people probably had 1,000-point careers in high school. And I want to say Gretchen had maybe 1,000 rebounds to boot.
Yeah.
So they were both, and actually Matthew was a
yes, he was
a much better basketball player than I was. While we're adding to the list of who else was better at basketball in the family, but yeah, he played at Sacred Heart on some good teams.
Was Jim Mogan still there when you were there?
Yeah, is Mogan not still there?
Well,
no,
yeah.
No, Jim Mogan, yeah, absolutely. I was on the receiving end and fondly recall more than one Jim Mogan tirade, and those were the good old days when you could just take a 16-year-old apart and in front of their family and their girlfriend in the stands. It was oh, I miss it. No, I loved those. Were absolutely fun. And you'd go across town and play at the Prep or at Vineland, and the stands would be just absolutely bananas. And the place would absolutely erupt if you drop the pass at the end of a fast break, for example. That would get them wild. So it was that was a hoot playing. And we had a decent team. Anthony Toner.
I remember him. Sure,
was our point guard.
He was short, but he was a good shooter.
Well, and he got much taller in a short span of time in high school too. Yeah, I mean,
that's good.
Yes, it's strong, but fun league to play in.
Yeah,
I'd like to do it over again.
I tell you, I used to broadcast the games and sat up on the stage, and I'll never forget. This was way before your time, but it was Pleasantville, and they were tremendous, and Sacred Heart playing each other. So now I'm not doing the game on TV, I'm doing it on radio. Well, Coach Mogan decided he was going to have a slow-down game. And can you imagine doing, Johnson to Smith, to Brown, to Jones, to Johnson, and that's all they kept doing, passing around. There were only, I don't know how many shots, but the final score was 10-8. Pleasantville. It's like, wow, that was a tough game to do, but it was an interesting game. And when you got a team that good, that you try to hold it down, and
I'm aware of that story, and I've repeated that story. I didn't see it, but that's the same number I recall from my youth is 10-8.
Yeah.
How do you forget that? That's
Yeah, it was a memorable game for me to do on the radio.
I enjoyed playing for Mogan, and I was supposed to be like the big man one of the big men on the team front line. And I think it's fair to say Jim Mogan wasn't much for coaching the front line. He was very much a guard-oriented motion offense kind of.
Yeah.
And so I got there pretty terrible, and I definitely remained fairly terrible throughout. And then I remember I want to say junior, senior year, we started doing different things, and that was much more of a sort of learning thing. But honestly, wouldn't trade it. Some of my favorite memories are honestly just Jim Mogan's personality. He was so fun and funny to play for. But he was, most of that I recall being hilarious was him either yelling at me or yelling at other people, and it just being, classic one-liners or it was good humor. It was good humor. Wouldn't trade that for the world.
Was the Jones guy there?
Oh, Keith Jones.
Keith, yeah, right. Was he well, he was history teacher, I think.
He was, and he definitely coached soccer. I don't know what else.
That's right. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I forgot about that as well. Yeah, but before Sacred Heart closed, he was the vice principal.
Oh, that's right.
Did you go to St. Mary's?
Grade school in Millville, yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, weirdest gym in the history of gymnasiums.
Yeah, that's true. That was my classroom way back. It was upstairs in the old building.
Really? Third floor?
Third floor. We actually did. Honestly, second and third floor were the classrooms. The basement was the cafeteria. So, it was interesting. Well, they had it divided into quadrants, the four 4 and 4. 4 for like 5, 6, 7, 8. The other floor was 1, 2, 3, 4. No kindergarten.
Is that building still there?
They just tore it down.
Oh, son of a gun.
Yeah, just
Nobody
tore it
talks
down.
about that crazy, crazy gym.
Yeah.
Who puts a gym on the 3rd floor?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea the origin story of that
No,
craziness?
I don't. No. I remember it being there, and I remember playing there, and I was, not very good, but, we had
3rd floor basketball court.
Yeah.
Weird, and definitely not to spec.
Oh, gosh, no. Uh-oh.
Definitely not to spec. I wonder what your insurance would be if you stuck a bunch of 13-year-olds in there trying to play basketball now.
Yeah.
So fast. And, that was a wild one rim low, one rim freaking high. Unbelievable.
It was something else. And in fact, I remember Anthony Toner playing there. He went to St. Mary's too, didn't he?
Yeah, but we would play there like post-college because I want to say legendary optometrist / local basketball hero William Marley Sr.
Oh, sure.
had the keys and would let us in, and so you would see like a mix of like old heads from Millville. You're talking, Mr. Marley, Mr. Toner, dudes who could play ball in the day and were still way stronger than us, and then like Bill Marley from Millville, Anthony Toner from Sacred Heart, all sorts of dudes, and in this shoebox of a gym, just killing each other. I can tell you this, and Mr. Marley, if you're out there, he never missed a shot where he didn't get fouled. I'll tell you that right now. I never guarded that man where he didn't end up on the foul line if the shot didn't go in. I'm not crying foul. I'm not saying he had a quick whistle, but my God, he had a quick whistle. That's Mr. Marley.
Well, a similar thing with, you probably wouldn't have known Ed Salmon, but Ed still runs. Ed just turned 80. Still runs a basketball program out of Millville High School Gymnasium, like 5 or 6 in the
We
morning.
played over there for
Did you?
sure.
Okay.
We definitely played over there and mixed with a group or some of those once in a while.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a mainstay in any of these situations. It would be like if I was home from college or after college at that point. But yeah, there were a lot of those were fun, especially when you get a bunch of old dudes with a bunch of like young dudes. It's just, if there were cameras back then, that would have been a YouTube channel. I can only.
That's a
oh
neat
my
point.
God, I'd watch it. That would be absolutely hilarious.
We're talking with Tom Ritter, who is the owner of Niche Podcasting. And when we come back, we'll talk about that and much more right after these messages.
More than a century ago, General Tire was born, right here in America. Since then, we've made a name for ourselves by making tires you can depend on. Tires built to handle any road this country can throw at them, and relied on by every kind of driver. So you know that no matter where life takes you, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
In South Jersey, we do things our own way. We say things out loud, face things head on, and never back down. And that's how we fight cancer. With the most advanced diagnostics, leading-edge technology, and a team of doctors who know how to treat your cancer. And most importantly, we do it right here at the Frank and Edith Scarpa Cancer Center, Vineland, and the Leading Edge Cancer Center, Mullica Hill.
I'm Brian Lankin, 3rd generation business owner, Al Shoes. Been at the same location since 1961, our 61st year. We specialize in work boots, work shoes, orthopedic shoes, baby walking shoes, and school shoes. We go up to a men's 17 and a woman's 13. It's $5 off 25 and 10 off 100 if you mention that you've seen this.
The most important decisions a family can make are usually made around the kitchen table. At DeMarco Luisi Funeral Home, we believe pre-planning and the difficult decisions you face with the loss of a loved one should also be made around the comfort of a table, like a family. Our friendly, kind, and compassionate staff is committed to helping you get through this most difficult time. In your time of need, trust DeMarco Luisi Funeral Home, Vineland.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. My special guest is Tom Ritter, and Tom has niche podcasting. And Tom, we talked about how exciting college was for you. I mean, you couldn't wait to get out, I guess. So after you got out of college, what did you do?
What did I?
What didn't you do?
I worked in telecommunications sales and eventually migrated into digital marketing for that same industry. Worked in agency and in-house roles in marketing for years with a primary focus in the legal industry, either large law firms or on behalf of, I worked at LexisNexis helping to run lawyers.com and manage some of the law firm directory or law firm marketing products that were offered from LexisNexis, Martindale Hubbell. So that continued to sort of where we are today, which started as a focus, podcasting with a focus on lawyers.
Oh, okay.
And why that was, I have no idea. Just seemed, even my corporate entity is Legal Podcasting is the name of the INC.
I see.
Realizing really quickly that, my goodness, lawyers can be difficult. And so, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, it seemed like the philosophy would work, which is the smaller your audience, the more valuable it's likely to be in terms of if you set your podcast up as a sales tool, if you're in an industry where referral marketing or referrals in general or reputation or thought leadership can work to your advantage, then every time you bring a guest on, you get to leverage their name and their company name. If you can turn around and give them highlights from the show for their marketing department, you can turn their company into your marketing department every week. And couldn't come up with any other way to create content around C-level decision makers, big bosses. How do you, I don't want the marketing person doing a podcast for whether it's the nuts and bolts industry, which is one that I'm in, or legal. It's got to be the big shot, the big name. Mm-hmm. Why else,
right,
are we putting microphones in front of these people? And it seemed like audio is the easiest way to do that. And if they can facilitate interactions with other big names, then, within a week or two, the podcast itself and whatever marketing tools or lead generation or, lead magnets that the marketing department's got involved, they're showing up for the guest's name, the guest company name, or the guest name and the guest sort of focus or specialty. And it kills a lot of birds with one stone for the marketing person, who we've kept out of the loop until now. In that they don't have to sit down on a Monday and have a meeting about, what are we going to post or what is there to talk about or what can we put in our newsletter this week or any of the myriad of channels they might have.
Right.
If they had a 1-hour conversation a week ago, they've got, say, 14 highlight clips for various formats. Right. They've got, maybe that's 3 episodes if it's been cut into pieces. Most likely it has for the title value of like different naming and different titling and sort of subtitling for the SEO and visibility value, because then what you're doing is you're buying real estate under all those people's names in Google and all those places. So when it does become a sponsorship conversation within the industry, if it's the nuts and bolts podcast for the fastener industry or whether it's a legal podcast, the conversation with the sponsors can be, or really contributing content partners is even a better way to do it. Don't have people do ads, have them do a segment that really adds to the show and work. Oh, that's the last thing I want to hit. Work them into the show as a value add. Turn it around, send their marketing department the highlight clips and things like that, again, to kill as many birds with one stone as you can. But it seems like it's the best clay for efficiency that I could come up with for people who are in situations where that type of business development can be helpful. And you should be able to make money with a podcast by the time 50 people have listened to it, much less 50,000, based on the fact that you should use it as sort of the tip of your sales spear in some way. Call people who aren't going to have an hour and a half conversation just BSing with you about the market today. Make a list of, the big movers and shakers in your market, whatever it is. If they've got a big newsletter, they've got a huge blog, they've got a YouTube, they've got their own podcast. Because if you bring them on, like I said, you're turning them into your marketing department week after week after week. So you can satisfy a ton of marketing needs, and the marketing people don't have to be involved in planning, scripting, no front end work for marketing.
Right.
All the marketing work comes when they've got clay to work with and content to put out, which I think is far more valuable use of their time. And nothing kills a podcast worse than a marketing person in the room for the planning stages. Because first of all, what are we planning? Either you're a subject matter expert or you're not.
Right.
If you are, you've got a podcast, here's a microphone. In which case you don't need scripting. And I would argue that if you're getting high quality guests, the last thing that type of high quality guest has time to do is go back and forth with you about a conversation they're going to have in terms of planning. Just have the conversation because they're a subject matter expert themselves, for Pete's sake. So the simpler you keep it, I find actually the better the product is on the back end, barring your podcast having some sort of heavy format, like the Nuts and Bolts guys I keep mentioning. A podcast called Fully Threaded Radio has been around 13 years.
Wow.
Nuts and bolts, screws.
Yeah.
And obviously a huge, this table's probably got 100 of them. These mics probably have 14.
Yeah.
Fasteners everywhere. And that's a thing where their audience doesn't have to be huge in any way, shape, or form for their audience to be worth huge numbers in purchasing volume.
Right.
Because their audience is, hundreds to thousand of people who matter in that space, CEOs in the fastener production, manufacturing, or supply chain space that are actually affecting the market. They even break news. They actually are in the unique place where they get to break a industry index every month, which is something that they haven't leveraged historically in terms of making it a subscriber-only feature, doing something.
Right.
But I feel like what an unbelievable gift to be in in any industry is to be paired up with an accounting firm and an industry association as a partner in producing this monthly industry metric that you get to break the news on. So, that's the kind of super niche thing that doesn't have to have a huge audience to be tremendously valuable. And that's where the niche podcasting sort of bent came from, is the last thing we're selling you is, we're going to get so many people listening. Like, no, if we need so many people listening, something's broken. Like, let's try and be fruitful way before the numbers sound impressive, for Pete's sake. If only just by calling people up who would be amazing referral partners who might not typically BS with you on the phone for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Tell them it's going to be recorded, and you all of a sudden, they're on a show. Sure, we've got time for that. And it seems to be, it's almost like, Meg and I laugh, we call it a pyramid scheme, because you feel like every time you turn around to somebody, there's a real slice of value that's derived for them based on their participation.
Right.
Like, whether it's the guest who doesn't have to do a lot of work at all, but when you turn around and give them a Dropbox full of 14 1-minute or less clips, and then you give them 3 full-length episodes for their YouTube, they're like, oh, wow, this was not only fun, but now we've got this evergreen marketing content. So it's like everybody kind of gets paid along the way for their participation. That raises their level of interest to the point where they want to share it.
Yeah.
Therefore, the host just, like I said, got the benefit of them acting as the marketing department. So that's like the boots on the street, like guerrilla formula for trying to be productive long before you've got 4-figure listening numbers every month, kind of thing.
Right. It's interesting. The podcast actually, for instance, like Megan, she told me she's a lawyer, which I did not know. Of course, her mom and dad and I were good friends, and I didn't know Megan. But then it was neat because I got to be on her podcast through you. And it was really interesting because I got to tell this story. I don't know if I told it on the radio or on the podcast with Megan, but I owned WMVB, and this was like 2004. And I had just downsized. I had 2 other stations down the shore that I got rid of because I couldn't make any money with them. So WMVB I did well with, and I've had Channel 22 during that period of time. So I get a call from these 2 or 3 guys from Texas who are going to buy WSNJ. And WSNJ was a very unique radio station. It was block timing. You'd have the Birdwatcher show, you'd have the Paul Huntsberger off the cuff show, George Moore's show, all these things. But it worked. I mean, years when I was getting out of college, no, you don't want to do block programming. You just DJ.
Elaborate on block. Are you saying so when it was Huntsberger, was it Huntsberger all day, or was it?
No,
or he had the hour, or he had
yes,
the hour /
correct.
the day?
No, he had Paul was on every day from, I believe, 12 to 1. Or
so
maybe
block is every day.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
okay.
Pretty much so. Yeah, the Birdwatcher show was every morning from 10 to 10:30, and 10:30 to 11 was some other, around the county show or whatever. Everybody had a piece of the action, so to speak. So it was cool. We called that was old-fashioned block programming,
okay,
which you basically do with TV. I mean,
Sure.
So what was interesting was while they're doing that, WVLT, the WMVB, we're doing middle of the road music. VLT's doing oldies music, the niche things that people would listen to. But what was interesting was WSNJ. Thank God for Paul Huntsberger and George Moore, because they were the salespeople. They were doing very well financially. But there is no way, Tom, when I heard the price that these guys out of Texas were paying for that station, that I could believe it.
Oh, you mentioned that on
Yeah.
the Bridgeton Beacon.
Yeah.
Was that was like
20 million.
$20 million?
$20 million.
And then they converted it to Pennsauken or somewhere,
Yes,
and turned
that's
it
correct.
into
You got good
a
memory.
Philly radio
Yeah,
station.
and then it was they sold it for $35 million.
Yeah, well, nobody told me you were going to turn a camera on, but I'm glad I had at least
did.
one or two
You
facts to bring to
remember.
the table.
I'm
I didn't
impressed.
shave, I dressed like a Florida man.
Well, that's where you're coming from.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, it's actually quite difficult to come back. It's in terms of there's no palm trees. Like, I haven't seen a palm tree in several weeks now, and it's really not good for your immunity.
I'm sure not.
It's
No,
not good
cold.
for it's not good for anything. Like, there's a
See, you fall in
real
love
bad
with Florida?
deficiency of palm trees local to Cumberland County. It's frankly disgraceful, the lack of palm trees. It's killing me.
If you go down South 2nd Street in Millville, there's a lot of palm or stuff down there that, I don't know, the guy's harvesting, I guess you would say.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
It's well, I will say this. What I do think of when I come back to Millville, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but it deserves mentioning, is the fact that there's a really good brewery in the town of Millville,
Yeah, that's right.
Glasstown,
Yes.
and somebody over there is a lunatic for IPAs because they've got like 40 beers on that board, and like 26 of them are IPAs that
Wow.
are outlandish, and then burgers. It's a burger mecca, Millville,
where's
and I
your
don't know if
favorite
people.
burger?
Well, it's if your list isn't exactly the same as mine,
Yeah.
there's something wrong with
Okay.
you, because it's in no particular
No,
order.
I understand. Yep.
There's three.
Yes.
It's Verna's, Jim's, and Bruni's.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree. How could you not agree?
If
Yep.
if you're not hitting those places
Yeah.
for burgers, those are burgers that if you live within two hours of
Yeah,
Millville,
they're worth coming to.
just based on the fact that you can sample all three of them
Yeah.
within a 10-minute drive of each other, should make this more of a destination. I don't know who's running the Millville or Cumberland County tourism boards, but the fact that there's not sloppy burger signs plastered all over the New Jersey Turnpike talking about Millville is a sin, because there's some really top shelf between those three places.
Yeah.
That's like my holy trinity of not just South Jersey burgers, but like there's one place you're going to hit three spots. Pick any order you want to hit those.
You
And
bet. They're all delicious, yeah. And it was interesting because, well, you're young, but do you remember when Joe Torelli had Bruni's? The guy's name was Joe Torelli.
I know
It's
the
called
name.
Torelli's.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was going to say, was it not? It was called Torelli's. Yeah.
Yeah. He was quite a character. Here's a funny story on Joe Torelli. He was he was funny, nasty, I guess, or however you want to say it. He didn't mean to be the way he was, but he was sort of obnoxious at times. So anyway, a friend of mine who was a Japanese American woman, she was in banking, and she had heard how great his burgers were. Well, when women went in there, he gave them a little bit of more tough time than he would you or I. So she went with one of her colleagues, a fella from the bank, to get hamburger. Well, she didn't know, what Joe had. So she goes in, and Joe goes, okay. She said, I want 2 hamburgers. He says, what do you want on them? She said, lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise. He said, get the hell out of here. I don't serve that crap on my burgers. And she had to leave. He wouldn't serve her. So she tells the story. She went back in several months later. Now, Japanese American woman, you don't see too many coming into Torelli's. And he said, "Didn't I throw you out here before?" She said, "You did, and I apologize." She says, "I just want 2 burgers. You put on it whatever you want." And she said, "Jim, they were delicious." I said, "Yes, Jody, they were."
That's marketing. That's absolutely beautiful.
Well, he was like the soup Nazi, right? Wasn't he like the soup Nazi?
You leave them wanting
Burger
more.
Nazi.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's hilarious. Oh, that's like I won't be in New Jersey without visiting Piccolo's in Hoboken, which is a 70-year-old cheesesteak place. Started out as a clam bar at 92 Clinton Street in Hoboken. And the proprietor there, Patty Boy Spacavento, is very much the same way. Like, very abrasive with some of the customers, but you can tell which customers he really loves because they're the ones taking the most abuse by far. But that's a beautiful old school spot. I mean, that's where the cops and the criminals hang out. Like that's one of those spots, and they close every day at 4 or 4:30. So half the town thinks it's just a mob front for laundering money.
I got to tell you,
wonderful spot for soup and cheesesteaks.
I'll tell you another funny story. Now this is Rob has it now. Rob Bruni, great guy. So I go in quite often, and I go in one day, and I said, "Rob, aren't I your best customer?" He says, "No way. You know who came walking in? Your Uncle Bill. That's my best customer, Bill Ritter."
Yo, Uncle Bill, that's... First of all, I just said I love Bruni's.
Yeah.
But understand it at the age that Uncle Bill is operating at, and I hear he looks pretty good.
Yeah, he swims almost every day.
He swims almost every day.
Yeah.
Bruni's, man? Is that where we're at? You're their best customer?
Yes, he is.
You need to, I mean...
We'll have Rob put some lettuce
we
and
got to have
tomato
some
on it.
kind of intervention.
Get some
This is-
vegetables.
That's not, I mean...
Well,
I thought I might hear some family accolades, but I thought it would be Paul III and what an amazing CEO he is out in Bridgeton. No,
Not
it's
only
Uncle
that.
Bill eating burgers at Bruni's on High Street.
But your uncle or your cousin Paul is the best mayor around. He's a phenomenal person. But I will give him credit. And this was funny because he had a friend who just passed away recently, Calvin Johnson. So he and Calvin would go swim over at the Y. It's called the Holly City Family Center now every day. And then they come over after they got done swimming. Well, Cal got done a little bit ahead of your Uncle Bill. So he comes in and he says, "I want 4 naked burgers." I'm sitting there. This was for 2 for Uncle Bill and 2 for him. You know what they were? No bread. So maybe, he's doing the Atkins diet. I don't know. So at least he didn't get any bread on him.
He's the man. The man introduced me to Taco Bell.
To Uncle Bill?
Yep. Yeah. He's a renowned in the junk food industry. That man has a cult following and has earned it. Yeah, that's a good guy to pick a hole in the wall for you. No, I respect it. Bruni's are good burgers. Now, are you aware what the record is for burgers at any of these places in terms of sitting down and consuming one shot?
No.
Like Happy Days style?
Yeah, no, I'm not.
21 at Jim's Lunch.
John Sorrentino? I wonder who it was.
I don't know. 21 at Jim's Lunch.
Maybe Mike Trout. No, I don't think so.
Verna's does not have a record, and I want to say Bruni's told me 12,
Okay.
which would make sense in proportion to the gyms. They've got a different sort of size package over there, but just just floating that in case
You wanna
things are
go-
slow on High Street.
Have a
Or out by the
burger
airport.
contest. Yeah.
I feel like Millville could have a whole weekend dedicated to burger eating. People would come from far and wide.
I actually, the Ritters were always my idols because you guys were tall and thin, and I was always short and fat. So I went and I got surgery done about 7-8 years ago. It's called the sleeve surgery. So my stomach's about the size of a banana. So I can only eat 1 burger wherever I go.
Or one banana.
Yeah, 1 banana. That's it. That's full. So I eat half banana, half burger.
Cheap date.
Yeah. Boy, that's funny, too, when I go out. Like last night I went to Verna's and got her meatloaf, which I really love. And
That place is so good.
it is, isn't it? But I only am able to eat half. So I took it home and had my half there. And wherever else I go, they just Morris River Diner. I could get 3 meals out of their platter. It's gigantic. And my favorite restaurant in the area is one of my sponsors, which is the Queen restaurant. And I'll tell you what, it's Lincoln and Landis in Vineland. Tom, this place is amazing. You get 2 meals from a selected menu for $25. That's soup or salad, entree, vegetable, and dessert for $12.50 a piece, really is what it is. So even there, whatever I get, half of it I take home because it's a good-sized portion. And that's one of my favorite places to go. And it's interesting, while we're talking about restaurants, now Bruni's and Jim's and Verna's don't fall into this category, but all of the diners in Cumberland County are currently, to the best of my knowledge, owned by Turkish people. The last Greek diner was the Morris River Diner, where they give these giant platters, and he just sold to, guess what? My friends that are Turkish, that have the Town Tavern in Bridgeton, they have the Golden Pigeon in Bridgeton, and I find them to all be very nice people, and they do really good, good food. They do a nice job there.
I'll go Greek or Turkish with my diner selection for sure.
Have you ever been to Olympia in Vineland?
Oh, hasn't that been there forever?
Yeah, the Greek restaurant.
Way back in the day, but not.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's on my mother's list for sure.
Yeah, I love that place, and people tell me the food there is as good as it is in Athens, Greece. So I said, well, that's quite a tribute.
Without the carbon footprint.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm still delighted that I walked in and you just turned the camera on. That's.
But you know what? You're really good.
To anyone who's just joining us, by the way.
Yes.
That's why I'm lucky I don't have food in my mustache. I could have come right from Manny's Pizza over there. Also, not too shabby, by the way.
No, that's right.
Shout out to Manny's.
Manny is Greek. That's right. He still does a nice job, yes. And, we are lucky in Millville. There's a lot of really good. And Lynn's Deli is excellent, too. I don't know if you've ever been over there. It's 913 North 3rd Street, south of where the Wheaton Gate was. Do you ever remember Flick's Cafe?
No, that rings a bell, kind of, actually. I know the Main Street Deli. Mm-hmm. They make a nice sandwich.
Yep.
Good bread. Don't know where they get their bread. But the sign of a place with good bread is that if they tell you, they'll have to kill you.
Okay.
So, yeah, exactly. But where's this? 3rd and what?
3rd.
I've got a month.
It's between F and G on 3rd Street.
All right.
And I'm telling you, somebody just told me they were there yesterday and how good the food was. I said, yeah, it really is. It's excellent. That's why, we're lucky. You got Jim's, you got Vernus, you got Lynn's, and you got some of the other ones that you've mentioned but it's like home cooked, It's like, oh my God, she used to do a chicken and dumpling that I absolutely loved. And she has wraps and burgers. Her burgers are pretty good too. So we're fortunate in Millville to have those type of places. And it's like, everybody knows your name. I don't like to go out to eat by myself. So if I go to Lynn's, I'm at the counter. I go to Jim's, I'm at the counter. Verna's, I usually take somebody with me, but I know a lot of people that go out there. But we're really fortunate in Millville. We've got a lot of really neat places, plus Bruni's. You've named an awful lot of them.
Well, I literally, that's what I think of as soon as I know I'm coming back to visit somebody. It's like the places I have to visit.
Yeah.
Those 3 burger spots. And
smart move.
But this could be a food show. El guacamole.
Oh, that's delicious.
Oh man, solid. Yeah. They a chili relleno burrito, a stuffed pepper stuffed in a burrito. Respect. Yeah, El Guacamole.
They're good, too.
Oh, they're nice people.
Yes, they are. We're talking with Tom Ritter, who is the proprietor of Niche Podcasting. We'll tell you how you could become part of that programming, and we'll do all that right after these messages.
Are you ready to go green and cut down on your electric bill? Then there is only one call you need to make. Soaring Solar is your complete source for solar, including new roof installations. Soaring Solar is a veteran-owned and family-run company. Call the Soaring Solar family today and talk with one of our solar consultants. Call your local Soaring Solar consultant, Vicki Kozak, today at 856-265-1262 or email her at vkozak@soaringsolar.com.
More than a century ago, General Tire was born. right here in America. Since then, we've made a name for ourselves by making tires you can depend on. Tires built to handle any road this country can throw at them, and relied on by every kind of driver. So you know that no matter where life takes you, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
In South Jersey, we do things our own way. We say things out loud, face things head on, and never back down. And that's how we fight cancer. With the most advanced diagnostics, leading-edge technology, and a team of doctors who know how to treat your cancer. And most importantly, we do it right here at the Frank and Edith Scarpa Cancer Center, Vineland, and the Leading Edge Cancer Center, Mullica Hill.
I'm Brian Lankin, third generation business owner, Al Shoes. Been at the same location since 1961, our 61st year. We specialize in work boots, work shoes, orthopedic shoes, baby walking shoes, and school shoes. We go up to a men's 17 and a woman's 13. It's $5 off 25 and 10 off 100 if you mention that you've seen this.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. Tom Ritter, the owner of Niche Podcasting, is our guest, and Tom is a former Millvillian who's back visiting with his lovely mother. And I was asking Tom, and I thought during the break that your mom was a nurse. And tell everybody what she did.
Yeah, hospice nurse for 35 years.
Can you imagine?
Or so. Oh,
God
she's
bless
got
her.
stories.
She's a saint. To be able to do that.
Yeah.
Really
It's the gravity / humor that you get secondhand from people who are lying on their deathbed having a sort of totally different perspective on the world is gold. I mean, you know, she's got as much reward from that job, I think, as she's given to it. Like, she really has appreciated it.
Wow.
And the stories are unbelievable. Yeah,
I've always admired her. To do that is something special. The average person cannot do that job. Somebody as special as your mom, I could see doing it, because she was very active in the church and just a very, very nice person. And I'm glad she's doing well. And, so now you said your family, like your brothers and your two sisters, are on the East Coast. Are they close?
From North Jersey, stretched down to Maryland.
Okay, gotcha.
In various configurations. Yeah, so all within a couple hours of Grandma, basically.
Oh, that's good. That's nice. That makes it. So they'll all be coming for Christmas?
Yeah. Well, I guess except for me, technically, being in Florida, but I can travel enough that I did it like 2 months last winter and a couple months this winter
No, but
up
I mean,
here.
This
So, yeah.
Christmas you'll be here, right?
Oh, everybody will be
Yeah,
here.
that's what I meant, which is nice. Yeah, that'll be wonderful, And I know you like Christmas decorations and all that.
Oh, it's I'm all about it. It's not only that, it's my new thing is realize there's so many wineries in South Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yes.
almost everybody in my buying group, barring two little kids, is of drinking age, and Cedar Rose,
Yeah.
Terra Nono, like
Yeah.
there's some really good
Yes.
little wineries within 15 minutes of Millville and Vineland now.
That's the truth.
And I had no idea. Discovered that last year. So that's like the new gift card on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they really do a great job. In fact, the Quinn restaurant that I mentioned earlier, they have Cedar Rose Winery there, wines. And I was in one day with the Economic Development Director, Sandy Forsiski, and we do a show live from there. So we had dinner before the show, and he treated us to a bottle of wine from Cedar Rose Winery. Oh, my gosh, it was so good. It was delicious. And then sometime, Tom, you got to take Mom or anybody you want to you'll love this place. It's the Hotel Charlesworth in Fortescue. It's right on the water. Beautiful view. And the owner is a guy named Sybil. I've always wanted to have, you got the two names. I got two names, Jim Quinn, Tom Ritter, or normal two names. Not Sybil, that's his only name. So I couldn't have Elvis or Cher or anything, but I get Sybil on the show. Well, Sybil is an amazing guy, and his food is fabulous. Did you ever go to Winfield's when it was open in Millville?
Yeah.
Well, his food is just about the same as Winfield's. One of the things I had at Winfield's that I loved was sea bass, Californian sea bass, or whatever it was, at Hotel Charlesworth. It's equally as good. Everything there is fabulous, and he's booked all the time. So if somebody's got a birthday coming up or so, that's the kind of place to go. You don't go there every night because it's not inexpensive. It's Winfield prices, but it's just a really neat place. But again, he has Cedar Rose wine, and that's what's nice too, Tom. That these Terra Nona, I'm sure that there's places they have there, and I've gone to fundraisers at both places, which is really nice, and they have some music and that type of thing. So you're right, between the bar or the beer place and the two wineries, it's growing, and actually there's sort of a wine trail.
Oh yeah, New Jersey Wine Growers Association.
Okay,
has a wine trail.
Yeah,
and it's and that's all on their website, and they do a pretty good job of posting events. But that group or that association, as well as just the wineries in general, have, it seems like, a good schedule of events throughout the year.
Yeah.
Which, it was just shocking because there was literally dozens of them. I didn't know there were a couple, much less a couple dozen.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Within driving distance, real comfortable driving distance, and some of them are very storied, and have great history to them. What's the one?
Bellevue.
Oh, Bellevue's a good one.
Yeah.
It's is that Jim Quirella over there? Highly regarded.
Yes, very, very good, and nice food. And
really if you speak to people who make wine in New Jersey, and I only know this because of some of the podcasting on the Bridgeton Beacon last year, we featured wineries.
Okay.
And but that name comes up in terms of like the old guys who've been around who know their stuff, and if you can get some tutelage under them, you're better for it, kind of thing.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to start a podcast, how do they get a hold of you?
Oh, that's really easy. You can give me a call at 239-351-5575, or and really that's the best thing, because no two are the same, and depending on your business and your business goals, and it's really worth sort of just qualifying.
Yeah.
Not only am I a fit for them, but are they a fit for me? We have a fairly specific formula that we do adhere to, which is, if you want to plan your episodes, I probably won't take you on as a customer, kind of thing. Like, if it really has to be it just adds so much workflow anytime you bring planning into the equation. And if you can just capture real natural conversations, it becomes so fruitful at the end of the road. Why would you deviate from that if you don't have to? It's a fun conversation. You can go to I would check out some of the shows I do. There's the NJ Criminal podcast, which is she does true crime as well as stories about legal happenings and case law in New Jersey and in general. And she's been very successful with her podcast in terms of business generation for her law firm.
Right.
So that's one model to look at. Another model is the Fully Threaded radio podcast at fullythreaded.com, which is the voice of the fastener industry.
Yeah, that's
and they're sponsored by upwards of, I want to say, like 20 major multinational brands that are like Stelfast or Fastenal or Worth Industries North America, where a lot of people probably don't know those names, but if you buy for construction, you do, or if you buy for aerospace fasteners, you do, that kind of thing. And so, that's another good model with a different look to it, as well as the Bridgeton Beacon, which is a South Jersey community podcast that started mainly because Meg Horner felt the need to fill a gap, but even for something like this, where she's doing community interest stuff, I see that quickly emerging into a situation where it could be a revenue generator for her, and we haven't even tried before.
She's an attorney.
Yeah, and that's really where we butter the bread, is her law firm podcast is crushing it, and her law firm business is growing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I didn't even know she was an attorney. In fact, I luckily have an attorney, but there's some things she may do that my other attorney can't. And
criminal? Are you?
No, that's right. She's criminal. No,
Yeah.
no, I have no crime. I'm out of government, folks.
There you go. There you go. No, Meg, she does criminal primarily.
That's right, yeah.
Which does bleed across certain areas in terms of conversation, like family and so forth. But it's literally the only marketing she does for her small business in terms of the law firm is podcasting, because it creates content for her firm website.
Right.
It completely fills her YouTube channel and social marketing channels with video and clips and so forth.
Right.
So that's another checked off box. And it is a tool for her to mix and mingle with people throughout New Jersey who overlap with, like I said, if she is talking to a family lawyer, she's talking to a retired judge who's now at a law firm. Like, these are all potential sources of referral business.
Yeah, right.
And it's been extremely fruitful for her in that respect. So that's a much more sort of real world model where it's not about, oh, how many listens did we get this month? It's more about, well, how many people randomly called you up and said, oh, I heard you talking to, Bob Smith, and my friend needs help, or I need help, or would you take these cases from me? She gets a lot of it is calls from other lawyers, and a lot of business from other lawyers, because in 30 seconds of listening to Meg or anybody else on their podcast, you get a lot more than you do out of a About Us page on their website. You're like, either I like this person or I don't like them.
Right.
Podcasting isn't going to make anybody like you more in a percentage measurement, but we can make a hell of a lot more people dislike you, along with the fact that a heck of a lot more are going to like you. So it's like, yes, the same amount of people you're not going to be their lawyer of choice just because there's something about you they don't like. Well, guess what? You didn't have to waste time doing a consult with them to accomplish that screening.
Yeah.
And, it's a tool in that respect. But I honestly say it's often not what people think it is. It's worth having a conversation. The last thing anyone should do in their podcasting is, even about business, is don't make it about yourself or your business. It's because then you'll have to invest in getting it out there. Make it about your guests and their businesses, and you'll find your podcast just making its way out there.
That's a great idea, Tom. I didn't think about that. That's really so. All they do in order to get a hold of you is call the phone number?
I would. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. You can go to nichepodcast.net.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's the Niche Podcast Network stuff. It's also legalpodcasting.com if you're a lawyer.
Oh, okay. See.
Then if you're in staffing or employment, there's employpodcasting.com.
Oh, that's great.
So I've got a ton, but nichepodcast.net is an easy way to go about it. But everything from IT to staffing to nuts and bolts to legal.
Wow.
And sort of the nichier the better. It's hard to penetrate the market with like a big blunt instrument, but if you're a razor or a needle, it's real sort of easy to plant your flag as the expert on that super niche slice of the pie.
Yeah, that's true. That's niche broadcasting makes a lot of sense. And what's nice too is we've talked about you were in Florida, and then you're talking about going to Costa Rica.
Oh yeah.
So I guess the good point is you can do it from wherever you are.
Yeah, I can manage this from wherever I am. I have voiceover people, and people do music for the different things like that are all based domestically, actually. But I can run the business from anywhere, and I've decided that, like I said, palm trees, Mill is a great place to visit for some burgers, but after a while I become palm tree deficient, so it's going to, I look like a Florida guy. This was an ironic mustache.
You look like
this isn't an actual, this was all, it's kind of a joke. And here you are putting me on TV. That's fantastically hilarious. I couldn't be.
But it's interesting, as we've talked, and I don't know if we've ever talked in our lives before. You know what I mean? Other than on the phone.
That's not true. That's not true. Actually, I should have thought of this first.
Show, you mean,
no, I pitched you an idea about 13 years ago.
No kidding.
09 or 2010 maybe. Okay. I was doing it wasn't audio driven back then. It was video driven, and it was a very similar talking points though, about just record conversations already having kind of thing.
Right.
Came and attempted to, I don't know what the relationship would have been, but I was just like, I got to talk to Jim Quinn about this. And I was like, and I think I bought every single county in New Jersey magazine.com and was like, let's send Zoom cameras out to every county. was the idea.
I see, yeah.
And I forget what conclusion we came to or why it wasn't a good idea, but I'm sure it wasn't. Or how it was framed probably wasn't all that brilliant. But
I think you're probably ahead of your time, and I wasn't up.
well,
to that.
also that's been a defining theme of my business career is like noticing something that's super efficient before anybody realizes.
Yeah.
So then you've got to make 2 sales. You've got to sell them on why this is a really, really smart new efficiency,
Right.
and then you got to sell them
Yeah.
to buy from you.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely terrible. You don't do that unless you've got $1 billion war chest, because then you're literally running around explaining to big law firms the value of video and not getting paid for it until you then sell them on you. Making one sale is far more efficient, I decided.
I guess, I don't know. I had friends of mine, he came to me and approached me about partnering up, and in fact, my family thought I should too. And now I look back, I should have. But it's hard for me, like this is my baby. I've had this child for 47 years, Channel 2, or 22 now. But it's like hard to give it up. And yeah, I love doing what we're doing. And that was what I was just getting back to. I do forget that, Tom, to be honest with you. But, basically having a conversation of I know your mom, I know your dad, I know your family, and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't really know you. But we've spent almost an hour, and what you're saying is the extemporaneous. It's like that's the stuff that has value rather than a scripted show. Okay, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk. Of course, with my ADD, I'm all over the board anyway, so it'd be hard to say scripted, but it is neat. And I admire what you've been able to do and how it's taking off, and, being able to get quite a few clients and how it works. I mean, it's not the way we do with a commercial. Yours works because you're developing into law firms and who they need to get to, and it's really very interesting. Approximately how many clients do you have?
I'm producing about 10 podcasts right now,
Okay.
and we actually just invested in the CRM and some of the tools to scale. I wouldn't have been comfortable taking on a bunch of clients prior to just about now in terms of, say, signing up 20 in a month.
Right.
We now have the tools to do that.
That's good.
Well, yeah, now that you're putting me on blast, it's good timing.
Yeah.
There's actually some pretty cool South Jersey businesses that I'd like to reach out to for sure. I love having customers in New Jersey because it makes the visits up here fruitful in multiple ways. But it's now systemized to the point where I don't, I've been a craftsman in it for a couple of years because I didn't produce podcasts 3 years ago. So spending the last 2 up to my elbows learning 15 different pieces of software and so forth, and which ones we really need to use and which ones we really don't. I'm at the point now where that doesn't make any sense, and I've got to sort of Ray Kroc this a little bit and systemize for scale, because it's the opportunities that happen when you have 50 clients in terms of cross-pollination between 2 productions become much, much more, available. And I'm finding that even with 10 clients, I have cross-pollinations. So nice. When you get up to 50 or 100 or 150, 200, I think the value within the network actually begins to add something to the clients themselves and really creates a better product for me than then showcase. And again, then it starts to sound like a pyramid scheme, because I feel like everybody wins in that process.
Well, and that's a good pyramid scheme. That's great.
Yeah, and I should really drop that language because it's just so terrible to mention anywhere. But I can't help laughing. It's like, and that would be really good for the guest. That would be really good for the host. And damn, that would be really good for me. So it's like, as long as those things line up, everything seems to continue to grow. But it's a fun conversation for sure, and I've enjoyed it. I'm proud to be associated with some of the shows and some of the content that they put out.
Good people.
Some great historical content, as well as some, like I said, even breaking industry news, regardless of how sexy or not sexy the industry is. I mean, I think that's pretty.
The fasteners aren't sexy, but they're a successful one.
That's a big old business, boy. I'll tell you what, nuts and bolts is a big old business.
Really Well, Tom, the hour flew by, my friend. It was great to see you.
Pleasure.
And maybe before you leave, you can come back again and say hello.
I'll shave.
Yeah, okay. Next time I'll prepare you for it.
Won't look like a miscreant.
You're a good-looking Ritter there. Let's face it.
All right, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tom Ritter has been our guest from Niche Podcasting, and you just go to nichepodcasting.net.
Niche Podcast? .net.
nichepodcast.net is where you can find about all the different podcasts he has and how you might be able to get involved and do your own podcasting with Tom. For Tom Ritter, I'm Jim Quinn, and for my producer, George Cucci, I thank you very much for joining us. Have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, George.
This has been a QBC television production, in association with our partners and sponsors. QBC broadcasts on Comcast Cable Channel 22, and live streams its programming on Facebook and YouTube. All rights reserved by Quinn Media and QBC, programming that serves the South Jersey market.